2 years after the legendary victory in the previous game, Mass Effect 2 continues the story of Commander Shepard, out to save the galaxy with a new threat looming on the horizon. Story. Mass Effect 2 begins with the Normandy being attacked by an unknown force, resulting in the death of Shepard. Cerberus, a pro-human corporation, sets a project in motion to recover and reconstruct Shepard to exactly how he or she was before the accident. 2 years pass, during which a new threat emerges with the unfortunate and frowned-upon habit of abducting human colonies. After looking death in the eye and drop-kicking it in the face, Shepard recovers and is tasked by the mysterious elusive man to gather a crew and to investigate this new threat. Graphics. Compared to Mass Effect 1, it is a huge improvement. On its own, due to its age, it's rather okay. Not the best looking game, but certainly not an ugly game either. It has plenty of diverse surroundings, each crafted with detail, if not a bit heavy on the boxes and crates everywhere. Despite that, Mass Effect 2 has, much like its predecessor, plenty of creativity in its general world design to really create a universe filled to the brim with atmosphere and immersion. Character models got a boost in overall quality too, which was desperately needed. Gameplay. One thing you'll notice if you have played Mass Effect 1 first is that the game is much more action focused. EA BioWare has gotten rid of most RPG mechanics from Mass Effect 1 in favor of a much more action-like approach. Combat is more polished and enjoyable. To aid with combat, most areas are covered with a ton of boxes and crates that provide cover in firefights. The open world feel of the first game is gone in favor of a different structure where each area feels more like a level or a stage rather than a coherent world, especially with the scoreboard at the end of each level. As a result, the pace is generally higher and the storytelling is more consistent because of its more linear approach. When it comes to classes, they are more defined yet more streamlined as well. They've gotten rid of the extensive skills and instead reduced the number of skills down significantly, but increased their power and effectiveness, along with bonuses that you can unlock at max rank. As a result, classes feel more distinct and defined compared to Mass Effect 1. Not only that, each class has its own strengths, weaknesses and playstyle, so that makes replaying the game with another class quite fun. Whereas in Mass Effect 1 the loot was almost never ending, in Mass Effect 2 it's drastically toned down, limited to new weapons and some materials only. These can be found scattered throughout most areas, but are generally pretty few and far between, and as a result, looting feels more worthwhile in this game. The minigame to unlock saves and whatnot has been changed too, although I preferred the frog-like hacking from Mass Effect 1. Given the frequency of minigames though, I feel the minigames are boring and plain filler after a short while, and they seem to last longer than the Mass Effect 1 equivalent. When it comes to companions, I feel Mass Effect 2 has the best and strongest feeling of camaraderie between crewmates. There's also barely any similar party member, which is quite a feat given the large roster of companions. They're all different and unique. Complex too, with all their own struggles and backstory, which adds tremendous depth and tightens the bond even further. And because of all that bonding, the emotional impact you get from certain story decisions and consequences can be all the more joyful or devastating. Perhaps Mass Effect 2 is the BioWare game when it comes to best party members, certainly up there with Dragon Age Origins and Baldur's Gate 2. The romances are written well and you can have some very interesting relationships with a few companions, which, if you're into that, can really add some extra depth to the game. When going out on missions, combat in Mass Effect 2 is done well, with rather easy to use cover and a variety of weapons that can get quite unique. Each encounter feels meaty with lots of waves of enemies and a variety of different types of enemies, like armored soldiers and heavily armored boss types. These are usually beefed up with shields, armor, and a bad attitude. The game feels rather fast-paced, with a cover system that can be considered an improvement over its predecessor, but still not perfect. Honestly, I don't even know what the hell they were thinking binding the sprint key to the cover key. Sprinting through tight corridors is just sticking from wall to wall instead, especially since you can't really turn when you're sprinting, which is just straight up annoying at times. Unfortunately, Mass Effect 2 ditched the Mako and instead went for a pretty lame and boring planet scanning activity to gain any additional resources for some upgrades. so no longer can you explore on unknown planets or anything of the sort. In return, Mass Effect 2 does offer a larger amount of different environments to play through instead, with a few impressive ones locked behind some pretty pricey DLC. Overall score: Atmospheric universe. All locations feel distinct and unique, filled with an atmosphere of a futuristic society mixed with aliens, humans and scumbags of all races. Voice acting. Again, much like its predecessor, Dragon Age and pretty much all BioWare games, voice acting is not only high in quality, but in quantity as well. Both male and female Shepard are voiced well, and it's noticeable both Mark Meer and Jennifer Hale are more on point and seem to have adjusted better to the role of Shepard. Teammates. Out of the trilogy, Mass Effect 2 simply has the best teammates, in number and in diversity and complexity. It is so easy to get emotionally invested in many, if not all of them. Classes. The classes are distinct and unique. Biotics are very interesting to use and make for some excellent combined ranged and melee gameplay. Replayability. Mass Effect 2 has great length and even better replayability due to the sheer amount of choices you can make and the variety in classes. Romances. If you've always wanted to live out some Captain Kirk-esque alien romance shenanigans, here's your chance. Now for the downsides. Planet scanning. Even though some of the resources gained from scanning are useful, the scanning itself is boring and feels really tedious. Bugs. Experienced a few bugs here and there. Had it happen twice that the game bugged out at a certain event, which locked me out of progressing even further. Closing words. This part is a great addition to Mass Effect 1, and despite it not really continuing the main plot in any meaningful way, it is still a fantastic journey to experience. It has one of the best party member selections of all BioWare games, and banding together with them to face a nearly undefeatable enemy is nothing short of epic. Is it worth it? Yes, Mass Effect 2 offers an experience unlike any other game. If you're into RPGs, you kind of owe it to yourself to experience it. I'm convinced you would not regret it. I always get a bit jealous when I hear or read about people that haven't played the games and are about to. I just think it's that good. About the DLC though, one thing I'll say about Mass Effect DLCs, they are not cheap and they seem to never go on sale. That being said, if you really want to get the best bang for your buck, I'd say get Lareth the Shadow Broker, especially if you chose to romance Liara in the first game, simply to get a bit more of an explanation about what's going on with her. Thanks for watching guys, my name is SirDutchie, and please feel free to absolutely assume direct control of the like button to show some love. I wish you, as usual, a fantastic collector-free day.